A very recurrent question in human is what happens after death. So throughout history, each civilization has given its own perspective and a path after death. A comparison will be made between three different cultures, such as Hinduism, Egyptian culture, and Chinese culture. An analysis will be made where different types of symbols, artifacts, variants, implications, and more. Uh, First, we have the Hinduism, which is a religion of the region of India and Nepal, and it is one of the most followed. It is different from the others since it does have a single founder, and it's considered a fusion of religion and philosophy. Like most cultures, it has the essential point of life after death, and not exactly textual, since in this culture it does not exist, as Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita. And he said, "For the soul there is no birth or death at any time, and it has not come to be, does not come to be, and will not come to be. The soul is unborn, eternal, permanent, and primordial." All of this is related to the ideas of Hinduism, since contrary to the Occidental cultures, for them, the contact with nature has been fundamental, making that time is not treated as something linear, but more as something cyclical. From here derives the concept of reincarnations, samsara. Then the next culture is the ancient Egypt. The Egyptian civilization developed between 3300 before Christ and 322 before Christ in the Nile River Valley. They became very powerful due to their natural resources and geographical location. Unlike unlike Hinduism, for the ancient Egyptians, there was afterlife, where rich food, clothing, jewelry, and a cozy place for eternal bliss await you. Another very common theme that is related to all of this idea of preserving was the physical body, as they had a close link to the continuation of life after death. From this derived the mummification. In addition to this, the tomb was taken as another key factor, just as they believe in magic, but not as fantasy, like a way to ensure happiness without working in the afterlife. Also, amulets, colors, materials, and even animals, but it should be noted that all these benefits were only for the highest social classes, such as the pharaoh. The last we have is the ancient Chinese culture. It is found a long time ago, so their philosophies are more elaborated. A Chinese saying states that the most important thing in life is to have a good funeral. Regarding this subject, it gets believed that dead people went to life in another world. For this reason, they took things to ensure a good new life. It was believed that the spirits of the dead will be all the freer and more benevolent due to the more so-use the funeral was. Also, in some cases, they sacrifice horses and other beings or people that the deceased loved.
Okay, so now we will talk about the different symbols referring to the myth of the afterlife in the three cultures. In Hinduism, there is the painting Yama and Savitri by Raja Ravi Varma. This painting shows Savitri, being Hindu woman, fighting for the soul of her husband, Satyavan, against Yama, the god of death. It illustrates the concept of fighting for life after death. So in Hinduism, we have a sculpture called Nataraja Shiva's dance. This famous sculpture represents Shiva in his comic form as the Lord of Dance. Besides representing the creation, destruction, and renewal of the universe, it symbolizes the cycle of life, death, and transcendence. Finally, from the Hindu side, we have yantras. It's called Jali Yantra. This yantra is associated with the goddess Kali, who represents the destruction of the ego and liberation from the cycle of samsara. The Kali Yantra is used in spiritual practices to invoke the transforming power of Kali and spiritual liberation. Now we will talk about the Egyptian culture, and we must emphasize that this was for people of high levels as it was too expensive. And the first one is heart scarab. This amulet, often made of precious stones such as lapis lazuli or carnelian, was placed on the chest of the deceased. It was believed to protect to the heart of the deceased during his trial in the afterlife, helping him to prove his purity and righteousness. The next is Eye of Horus. This amulet, also known as the Udayat, represents the right eye of the god Horus and symbolizes protection, health, and regenerative power. It was believed that the Eye of Horus protect the deceased on his journey to the afterlife and help him to attain eternal life. Finally, in Egyptian belief, after death, the soul of the deceased was judged by Osiris in the Duat, the realm of the dead. In this scene, the deceased faced a divine tribunal where his heart was weighed on a scale against the feather of a man. The goddess of truth and justice, if the heart was lighter than the feather, the deceased was admitted to the field of offerings to enjoy eternal life. If it was heavier, he faced the threat of being devoured by a myth, which meant annihilation of the soul. This scene was crucial in the journey of the soul to the afterlife in Egyptian mythology. Now we will talk about the jade sarcophagi of Chinese culture. Jade sarcophages have been found in tombs in ancient China, especially during the Han Dynasty. The sarcophages were finely carved and decorated and were believed to protect the deceased and preserve his soul in the afterlife. Finally, the tombs of emperors with vast treasures. The tomb of emperors such as Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China, are filled with treasures and terracotta figurines. And these treasures were placed in the tomb to accompany the emperor in his afterlife and ensure his prosperity in the afterlife. This went along with the terracotta army of King Shi Huang. Uh, this vast array of terracotta figures depicts soldiers, horses, and carriages buried alongside China's first emperor to protect him in his afterlife.
In the Chinese culture, death is conceived as part of a continuous process of life when a human dies is not considered as an absolute end of their existence, just another stage in the life cycle. The Chinese believe that death is necessary for the renewal and rejuvenation of life. That is why there are funeral traditions, which seek to honor ancestors and facilitate their transition to the other world. In this tradition, the first requirement that they fulfill is the respect of the relatives of the deceased. They abstain from abundant meals and great celebrations during 7 days of mourning. At this funeral, it's tradition that sons and daughters-in-law of the deceased dress in black, because it's the color which shows the most respect is shown. Grandchildren should wear blue, and great-grandchildren should wear light blue. The people that aren't part of the family have to wear white, and also jewelry or ornaments are prohibited, as it is not seen well in this culture. In the Egyptian culture, death was not considered an absolute end, but rather a new beginning. A clear example of this is the Nile River, which fertilizes their lands, considered as a mirror of how they conceived the afterlife. Just as the Nile gave life to the desert, they hoped that the soul would find its way in a similar environment after the death. Another action they performed was mummification, in which they saw the body as an anchor for the soul, that it is a temporary state until the afterlife. When the soul undertook the journey and passed all the tests across the underworld duat, it was considered a pure soul and could meet Osiris in the field of reeds. And in the Hindu culture, life and death are related to a continuous cycle called samsara, and it's considered as change of clothing of the body toward the lives. That's why in this culture it is believed that when the physical body that resides in our soul fades, it finds a new container in another body. In this culture, there are some restrictions for this change of body, in which karma or a person's actions determines in what form they will be reborn. This leads to the condition in which a person can be reborn as anything, from another human to an animal or even an insect, and only the worst people are punished by being born as an insect or lower life form.
Hello, I'm Diego, and we're almost done. I'm going to talk about the comparative analysis and how this helps us to understand cultural diversity. Myths about the afterlife can reveal much about the social characteristics of different cultures. Here are some ways this can happen. Core values and beliefs. Afterlife myths often reflect the core values and fundamental beliefs of a society. For example, in some cultures, the emphasis may be on divine justice, while in others, it may focus on reunion with loved ones or continuation on an earth-like existences. In another culture, social structure and heritage myths may reflect the social structure and heritage of a culture. For example, some cultures may have myths that describe different levels of reward or punishment after death, depending on a social status or behavior during life. Relationship to nature. Myths about the afterlife may reveal cultural relationships to nature and world around it. Some cultures may imagine an afterlife that reflects a natural paradise, while others may conscience of a more abstract spiritual world. And this helps us to understand different cultures and empathize with them.
So now we are going to talk about the conclusion, which is the detailed examination of artifacts, symbols, myths, and narratives from different cultures offers profound insights into the diverse perspectives and beliefs surrounding the fundamental question of what happens after death. By comparing the Hindu, Egyptian, and ancient Chinese civilizations, we gain a broader understanding of the rich tapestry of human thought and the myriad ways in which cultures have grappled with the existence mystery. The Hindu tradition, with his emphasis on the cyclical nature of time and concept of reincarnation, presents a unique perspective that transcends the notion of a singular linear existence. The Egyptian civilization intricate funerary practices, including mummification and the belief in a waiting of the heart in the afterlife, reveal a profound reverence for preserving the physical form and ensuring a blissful eternity. The ancient Chinese culture, which is elaborate funerary rites and the inclusion of material possession in tombs, reflects a belief in the continuity of existence beyond the physical realm. Through these diverse narratives and symbolic representations, we gain invaluable insights into the depths of human imagination, spiritually, and the universal yearning to make sense of the great unknown. This comparative analysis underscores the richness of cultural diversity and the profound ways in which storytelling traditions have shaped our collection understanding of life, death, and the cosmic order. So that's the conclusion.